We need to be in timekeeping mode. When we're in timekeeping mode, we're going to start by pressing and holding the top left button. It's your set recall button. It says press hold to set, and it's going to take you into a screen that looks like this. The first value you're going to see is your time zone setting. So basically this watch has two different times you can set, time 1 and time 2. A lot of times you would set time 1 for maybe your home location, and then if you travel a lot, you could change this and set time 2 for the second location, and then when you're at that location, you could simply switch to the second time. So all we need to do is choose which one of those are we wanting to set. Time 1 is blinking for me. This whole time we're going to be using either the middle button, the start split button, or the stop reset button at the bottom right. That's going to be our toggle. That's going to move our value down, and then this bottom button, just like the plus is showing, will move our value up. Kind of went backwards because of the way I did it, but up, down is how it's going to normally work. I'm going to set time number 1. So I've chosen my value. Now I'm going to press mode to go to the next setting. Every time you want to go to the next setting, you're going to be using the mode button. The next setting is going to be our hour value, again, for time value number 1, because that's what we're in. We can use the bottom right button to go down. We can use the start split button to go up. So I actually need to set my time here. 10:04 is what we're shooting for. I could actually set it to the second if I wanted to show you how we do that. So I've got my hour value set correctly. You want to pay attention to this AM PM indicator over here. If you've got your time in 24-hour format, you would want to make sure you're on 24-hour, and then if you're in 12-hour format, you want to be looking for the AM PM indicator to make sure you've got your hour value set correctly. We've got our hour set. Press the mode button. We go to our minutes. I'm going to use the down button because I need to go to 10:04. I can press and hold it to move it quickly. So let's go ahead and do 10:05. Press mode again. It's going to take me to my second value. If I wanted to reset my seconds, I can press the bottom right button, reset them to 0. Press mode another time. It's going to take us to our month value. Again, we're going to use the bottom buttons to adjust that accordingly. Press mode again, mode button again, takes us to our date of the month value. Press mode again, it's going to take us to our year. The reason year is important is because if you don't have your year correct, your day of the week will be incorrect. So let's go ahead and adjust that. At this point, you're really done with your time and date settings. You don't have to go any further. If I press mode, it'll take me into some other settings like my time format, my date format, chime, so on and so forth. We're done though. We just wanted to set our time and date. We can simply press the top left button to get out of it, and we've successfully adjusted our time and date. Today is Wednesday, 9/11/2024. The reason that Wednesday is correct is because I've got my year set correctly. I've got mine set month, then day. I think other countries use day then month, so you might be looking to switch that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. We're going to start by pressing and holding the top left button on the watch. That's the set recall button. When you hold it, it will take you into your settings for the watch. Now, the very first setting is going to be your time setting. We're not worried about any of these. We're looking for a setting for the date format in this case. All we're going to do is we're going to press the mode button. It's the bottom left button. You're going to press it several times. Each time you press it, it's going to take you to a different setting. So you can see I'm on seconds, I'm on my month, my day of the month, my year. Keep pressing it. Eventually you're going to get to a screen that looks like this, and it's basically just showing you your date format. You can use either the middle button in the bottom or the bottom right button, and it's a simple toggle. Do you want day then month? Do you want month and day? Set it to whatever value you want. Once you've got it set, you're going to press the top left button, and we've successfully flipped our date format. So now I'm showing the day of the month and then the month, whereas before I was showing month, then the date. What are button tones? If I press the mode button, we hear that beeping noise. That's your button tone. If you want to turn this on or off, it's really very simple. When you're in your regular timekeeping mode, we're going to start by pressing and holding the top left button on the watch. That's our set recall button. You're going to hold it for a couple of seconds. You're going to see some blinking values over here, and then you're going to see time and a blinking value. It's either going to be a 1 or a 2. All this is showing you is you are now in your settings mode. We don't need to worry about any of the settings for our button tones. All we're going to do is we're going to press the mode button. When we see this blinking value, We're going to press this 10 times. Each time we press it, it's going to take us to a different setting that we can adjust. So I'm just pressing along. When we get to our 10th press, we're going to see a screen that looks like this. It says beep, on or off. You can either use the bottom middle button here to toggle it, or you can use the bottom right button to toggle it. You'll notice when I toggle it, it makes a beeping noise to tell me that I'm changing it. So we know what it sounded like when it was on. Once you've got it set the way you want, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. So I'm gonna leave this on off, press the top left button to confirm my changes, and now, as I'm pressing the buttons, we don't hear any beeping because we've turned off our button tone. Really simple. If you want to turn it back on, go right back through the setting just like we did, flip it back to on, save it, and your button tones will be back on. This is a little bit of a tricky setting. What we're talking about here is, do you want to see your time in 12-hour format or 24-hour format? You can see that mine is currently in 12-hour format because you will see an AM/PM indicator if you are in 12-hour format. The cool thing about the Timex Ironman is it's the only watch I know that you can actually set two different time values and have one of them in 12-hour format and one of them in 24-hour format. And I'm going to show you that here. So first, let's talk about this one. If I press this bottom middle button, you'll notice a little blinking indicator that says T2. That's my second time zone value. So that tells me that I'm currently in T1. It's going to make a little bit more sense when we jump into our settings, but let's say for our T1 value, we want to change it to 24-hour format versus 12-hour format. How would we do it? We're going to start by pressing and holding the top left button on the watch. Hold it for a couple seconds, it'll drop you into your settings. The very first setting is going to show you what your current time value is. I'm currently in time value number 1. That's the one that we just saw. That's the one I want to change. So I'm going to simply press the mode button 7 times here to get to the setting I want. You should end up on a screen that looks like this. It should say time, and then you should have a blinking value that indicates what your current time display value is. We knew mine was in 12-hour format. I can use either the middle button at the bottom or the bottom right button, and I can simply toggle this 12 or 24 hour. Once you've got it set correctly, you can simply press the set button up top, and we've successfully adjusted our time format. But remember, we only adjusted it for time value number 1. So where we no longer see the PM indicator and we're looking at our time in 24-hour format, if we look at our T2 value, we still saw the PM indicator because we didn't change the time value for our T2 time. And that's what I was saying was cool about this watch is I've got one time value that's 24-hour format. I've got another time value over here that is 12-hour format. You could even switch those. So if I wanted to totally go to my T2 value, I could press and hold this middle button. And now I'm in my T2 value, which is 12-hour format. And I can look back at my T1 value, which is 24-hour format. You could even set the times exactly the same. So you have a simple toggle between 12-hour and 24-hour format. So now let's talk about how would we change it for our T2 value. It's really the same as what we just did. I'm going to switch back over to T1. It doesn't matter. But just so it makes more sense, we're going to press and hold the top left button. Takes us into our settings mode. If we want to change it for T2, we're simply going to use either of the two buttons down here to change which time value are we wanting to change. We're going to go to T2 now, press mode 7 times, and now we can change the value for our T2 value. So it's really the exact same as what we did before. It's just, do you want to change it for time value number 1? Do you want to change it for time value number 2? If you want 24-hour in both of them, then you need to go into both of them and change it accordingly. This is one of those features I actually think Timex does a better job than Casio on. I'm going to try and explain it to the best of my abilities. If we're looking right here, this is my time. It's 2:28 and 16 seconds p.m. on 9/11 Wednesday. This is a time value, but you can also change and have a totally separate time value and date value set on the watch. It's great for people who travel, especially if you go to another country where the days are different, times are different, and I'm going to be showing you how we can change that and then how we can change it on our display here as well. So let's start by pressing and holding the top left button on the watch. That's our set recall button. After a couple of seconds, it's going to take you into your settings mode. The very first thing you are going to see is time, and you will have a blinking value here. Your T1 time or your T2 time. Which time value are you looking to change? I'm just going to keep this on T1, and I'm going to show you something. So let's simply press the mode button. It will take me to the same exact time we just saw on my watch face. It's 2:29, 13 seconds on September 11th. The year is 2024. That's where it was getting my Wednesday value from. So those are my time values for T1. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to get back to the beginning of the screen. And now we're going to change this. So this blinking one, we can either press the bottom right button or the bottom middle button, and we can toggle that. Doesn't matter which one you use. Now we're going to look at the second time value, or our time 2 value. Now if I press mode, you'll see that it's totally different than what we saw before. I've got an hour value, I've got a minute value, I've got a second value, I've got a date that's totally different. This is my second time zone value. So now we are in our T2 value, and we can adjust our times. I'm going to be using, just like the screen says, you can see this little plus down here. If I want to go up, I'm going to use the bottom middle button. If I want to go down, I'm going to use the bottom right button. So I can go up. Let's just say for kick's sake, it's 10 p.m. in the other time zone. I've got my hour value set correctly. I'm going to press mode to go to the minutes. Again, we're going to be using either of the two buttons on the bottom to adjust our minutes. Press mode again, takes me to my seconds. I can use either value to adjust my seconds. Press mode again, takes me to my date value. Now remember, it was September 11th on my time 1 value. So for this one, let's do September 10th. Press mode again, it's going to take me to the year. Year is important because if you don't have the year set correctly, your date will be wrong. So now I've successfully adjusted my time and date values for my T2 value. I'm going to simply press top left button, and now we're back to our main watch face. Now we're still seeing the 9/11/230 value. The reason for that is because we are in our T1 time display. I can press this bottom middle button to simply quickly look at my T2 value. Notice how I showed that little T2 there. So that's the time in my second time zone. If I wanted to totally flip, let's say I just left today and I'm going to my other location, I'm going to another country, and I want to use my T2 value as my current value, I'm going to press and hold this middle button. After about 4 seconds, it will change your configuration. So now when I look at my watch, I'm in my T2 value. This is the same exact value we just set. It's September 10th because the year is the same. It is Tuesday instead of Wednesday. And then there's the time value that we set. Now if I press the middle button, I can quickly glance at my T1 value. So if I want to call my kids back home and I want to see what time it is, I can quickly look and see, okay, there's the time. But I've successfully changed my T2 value and changed the configuration on the watch so that I'm viewing my T2 value instead of my T1 value. So it's really very simple. Press and hold the top left button. That will take you into your settings. It's going to drop you on whatever value is your current time value that you're displaying. So now it's showing T2. If I wanted to change my time value for time 1, I would just need to choose that and then go through the mode, adjust my values. If I want to change my time value for number 2, I would again change that and then again go through mode, and now I'm changing it for T2. I hope that made some sense. So a lot of you might be sitting there saying, what the heck is T2 value? This watch basically gives you 2 different time values, or I should say time and date values that you can look at. Now I've already done videos in the past that walk you through how to set these. I'm not going to go into that. It's really just how do I look at those when I'm wearing my watch. I'm going to simply look, let's look at my time real quick. Now I did this a little tricky because I set the second time value to be the exact same as the first time value. But what I did is I changed up the time format and the date format so that even though the time is the same, the display is different. It's 2:55 p.m. I'm in 12-hour format. That's why we see the p.m. on September 11th, Wednesday. If I press this bottom middle button, that will give you a glimpse at your second time value. You'll notice that T2 value blinking over there, and it's showing 14:55 instead of 2:55 because I have it in 24-hour format. You'll also notice that the date value is flipped. It's still Wednesday, but I have the day before the month, whereas in my T1 value, I have month and then date. It's one of the cool things that Timex lets you do is if you're somebody who travels overseas and you want, when you're in Europe, you want it to be a day, then month, and you want to be in 24-hour format, you can do that. Then when you come back to the States, you can be in 12-hour format with month and day, just as an example. Or you can set your T2 value completely different to a totally different time zone, however you want to. So if I want to toggle these two displays, how would I do that? We know that I can press the bottom middle button to glance at it. If I want to toggle them, I'm going to press and hold the bottom middle button. After about 4 seconds, my time displays have flopped. So now, or flip-flopped I should say, now I am in my T2 display. I can press the bottom middle button to glance back at my T1. You'll notice now it's showing a T1 blinking because this is T2, this is T1. Pretty simple stuff. I basically took a long way around indicating that if you want to just glance at your T2 time, press the bottom middle button. If you want to totally switch between your T1 and your T2 value, press and hold the middle button. That's how you do it. It's pretty simple on this watch because you only have one alarm value, so there's not a whole lot of complexity to the alarm setting. At a glance, you can see whether or not you have your alarm turned on. You will see a little alarm clock icon over here on the screen. That shows me that my alarm is turned on. So to go to that setting, we're going to simply press the mode button. It's the bottom left button on the watch. You're going to press it a few times till you get to a screen that says alarm, and it will show you your alarm value. You can see in my case, I've got an alarm set for 9 p.m. It's a daily alarm. And again, this indicator tells me that it is currently set to on. If I just simply wanted to toggle my alarm on or off, I could use either the bottom middle button, now I've turned my alarm off, or I could use the bottom right button, now I've turned it back on. It doesn't matter which one you use, they both do the exact same thing. It's really just a preference. What if you want to adjust your alarm time? While we're on the alarm mode, we're going to press the top left button, and we'll wait for a second. We'll see set, and then we'll see a blinking indicator that is our hour value. Kind of like setting the time, you can use either the plus, which is the bottom middle button, or the bottom right button, which is your minus, to adjust your hour value. Now, your values that you're going to see here are following whatever time format you're using. I'm using 12 hours, so we see the AM PM indicator. If we were in 24-hour format, we would not see this value. So I'm going to go ahead and set my alarm. Once I've got my hour set, press the mode button. It takes me in my minutes. Again, I could use either button to adjust the minutes. Press the mode button another time. In this case, it would take me to the AM PM indicator, again, because I'm in 12-hour format. If I press the mode button again, it's going to take me to the frequency of repeating this alarm. Is it a daily alarm? Is it just on the weekends? Is it just on the weekdays? So it's kind of cool that they give you that option to set. Once you've got it set correctly, press the mode again. It's just going to keep taking you around that cycle. Once you've got it set, you simply press the top left button again. Takes you out of your settings mode, confirms your changes, and now we've successfully adjusted our time for our alarm. Again, I could use either button to toggle it on or off. Once you're done, simply press the mode button, takes you back to your main timekeeping mode, and that is how we set and use the alarm. You need to get to the timer mode, just like on most watches. You're going to press the mode button 2 times, and you will end up in a screen that looks like this. It'll say timer up top, and then it's going to show your timer values. You can see that I've got a 1-minute timer set. I'm going to go ahead, let's just start basic. How do you start and stop your timer? You've got your start button down here in the middle, and you've got your stop button at the bottom right. Start. At the top, you're going to see what was your starting value, then you're going to see your current value, and then you will see a little indicator here that is showing you that your timer is running. You do not have to stay in this display. We can press the mode button. You'll notice when we go back, we still see this little timer display showing us that we have a timer running in the background. So that's kind of a cool feature. I'm going to go back into the timer mode. I can stop it. Once it's stopped, if I wanted to resume it, I would need to press start again. Once it's stopped, if I want to totally reset it back to the default, I would press stop a second time. So really simple, pretty basic to most other watches. How do we adjust our default timer? While we're in the timer mode, we're going to press and hold the top left button. After a couple seconds, it will take us into our settings. It's really pretty simple. They have it laid out for you. The top left button is going to be done. The mode button is going to be next. And then the bottom middle button will be your plus or to go up. Your bottom right button is going to be to go down. So if I wanted to increase my timer value, I would press the up button. If I wanted to go to the minutes, I would press the mode button. What's cool about this watch is you could just set a second timer or up to the second timer. So if I wanted to do a 1 minute and 10-second timer, we could totally do that. Or press the mode button another time. The next option is going to be what happens when the timer stops. So I just set a 1 minute and 10-second timer. When that timer is done, does it stop at the end or does it repeat at the end? If you set it to repeat when the timer goes off, it will automatically kick it off again, and it will continue to do that up to 99 times. So set it to whatever value you want. If I press mode again, it just takes me back to the beginning of the screen. I'm going to go ahead, let's just set a 10-second timer, and let's do repeat just so you can see what it looks like. So once you've got everything set the way you want, you're simply going to press the top left button to confirm your changes. So now we've set a default timer value of 10 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and start that timer, and then I'm going to get to the main watch face and you can see what happens and we can listen to the timer. That's it. You just hear that little beep. You can also see there's a little indicator over here with the arrow that's showing me that that timer is on repeat. And you can hear it repeating. If I go into the timer mode, we can basically see the same thing as we saw before. It would be nice if it would actually show you how many times is it repeated, but unfortunately it doesn't. It will just repeat up to 99 times and then it will stop. So again, I'm going to stop it and reset it. Pretty simple stuff. Once you're done, you can press the mode button. You can always press and hold the mode button no matter what mode you're in. It'll bring you back to your main watch face. The thing that's unusual about this watch is you don't have an indicator that shows you whether or not you have your hourly chime on or off. So you have to kind of go into the setting to see that. We're going to start by pressing and holding the top left button on the watch. That's the set recall button. You're going to hold it, and after a couple of seconds, you're going to see some blinking values here, and then you should see a blinking value over here for time. It's either going to be a 1 or a 2 because you have 2 different time zones available for this watch. It doesn't matter which one you've got blinking. All we're going to do is we're going to press the mode button 9 times, and that will take us to our hourly signal or hourly chime setting. Each time we press it, it's going to take us to a different setting. After your 9th press, you should end up on a screen that looks like this. It's going to say either chime on or chime off. You can either use the middle button here at the bottom or the bottom right button, and you can toggle this value on, off. I'm going to go ahead and put mine on. Once you've got it set the way you want, you're simply going to press the top left button, and we've successfully adjusted our hourly chime. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wait, and I will let you listen to the hourly chime. As you can see, we're about a minute away. And in case you're curious and you wanted to hear what the hourly chime sounds like, we're going to listen to it on this watch. And there we go. Pretty traditional with most Timex watches. It's the 2 beep that you hear. That's a listen to our hourly signal. We're going to press the mode button. It's the bottom left button 1 time. That will take us to our chronograph stopwatch feature. And it's really pretty simple if you're using a basic stopwatch functionality. I can press the start split button down here at the bottom middle. That starts my stopwatch. If I simply wanted to stop it, I could press the bottom right button to stop. While it's stopped, if I press start again, it resumes. So your stop is basically a pause/stop. While it's running at any point, you can press the start split button, and that will give you a split time. So the top value currently for me is my lap time. The bottom value is my full stopwatch time. It'll sit on that screen for a few minutes so you can look at your lap time, and then it will resume. So now we're seeing at the top my lap number 2 value, and then the total time for the race that we're doing, or the stopwatch value that we're doing, is down here at the bottom. I can do this as many times as I want to. So again, let's say I've been running, I'm on lap number 2, doing pretty good. Just hit lap number 3, I'm gonna press start and split. I can look quickly at my lap number 2 time and my total time for the race, and then it will continue on, and we will see, so far I'm at 12 seconds for lap number 3, and then my total time is down here at the bottom. And you can continue that for as many laps as you need to. I'm not sure if there is a lap duration, but most Timex watches, you wouldn't have to worry about expiring your number of laps. When you are done with the race, I should mention, while it's running, you can press the mode button. You can go to any other mode. You'll see this little icon up here. It's a little stopwatch that lets you know that you have your stopwatch running in the background, but you do not have to stay in the stopwatch mode. Once I'm done with the race, I can simply press stop. Now what it's going to do, this is where it gets a little bit clunky, is it's going to show me what my current value is. So I'm on lap number 3, I'm at 48 seconds for lap number 3, and I'm at 1 minute and 36 seconds for the full race. If I wanted to check out all of my other lap times, I would press the set recall button at the top left, and now I can go back and look at the entire race. Lap number 1, that was my time. Here was my full time for the race. Lap number 2 was 30 seconds. Again, here was my full time for the race. Lap number 3, top was my time, bottom was my value for the race. We can actually flip these. I will show you how to do that in a second. Where I said it's a little bit clunky is you have to get out of the recall screen in order to go do anything else. If you try and press the mode button, it takes you to format. You're like, what's going on? Press mode button again, it takes you to this, and you get kind of in this like loop of what in the world am I doing here? So what I would recommend at this point is simply press set recall again. You'll notice it says done. That gets you out of that set recall screen and gets you back into your chronograph screen. You can leave this value here. This watch only stores your most recent workout. There's other ones that would let you store several days worth of workouts, but this one, if you want to start another workout, you would have to reset this value and you would lose that history. If you wanted to reset it, you would simply press, notice if I just try and do reset here, it gives me a quick message. It says hold to reset. If I want to reset it back to zeros, it's back to 0. Once I do that, I no longer have any history. So the other thing we could do, I mentioned that you can change your format. If I press set recall, while it's stopped, there's an option that says set, and you'll see this blinking value. Just like we looked at before, my top value is my lap, my bottom value is my split. If you want to change that, you can simply use either of the buttons down here and we can flip that. So now my top is going to be my split and my bottom value is going to be my lap. Once you've got it set the way you want, simply press done. And now if we start the stopwatch, it's kind of flip-flopped. So whereas before that was my lap time and the bottom was my chronograph time, now the bottom is my lap time and the top is going to be my full stopwatch time. And we can see that here. It's really just a matter of preference. Which way do you like viewing it? Again, it works pretty good. Not a whole lot of bells and whistles on it. Again, there's other Timex Ironman models out there, even non-Ironman models, that have a little bit more bells and whistles with the stopwatch, but that's how you use it on the model T5K195. Not a lot of features on this watch for the alarm. You only have one single alarm. Cool thing about it though is you can have it repeat daily, just on weekdays, or just on the weekend if you wanted to. There's no changing the duration of it. It will go off. If you don't do anything after 5 minutes, it will repeat itself. It only repeats itself one time. I've got it set to go off at 1:26 p.m. I'm going to turn off my overhead light because when the alarm goes off, it's kind of cool. The backlight will flash as well. So not only does it make a sound, but it also has lights that go off to try and get your attention. Does not do any kind of vibration or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off my, actually I'll leave my overhead light on just for a second so you can see it. You've got this little indicator over here that will blink when the alarm starts going off. And there we go. Just like most Timex watches, the alarm is nice and loud. You can see this little blinking indicator. If the indicator is solid, it means that your alarm is set. If it's not there, it means your alarm is turned off. If it's blinking, it means that your alarm is currently going off or in the process of going off. The reason it's blinking for me is it just went off and it's got one more repeat that it will do before it stops blinking and it goes back to the solid setting. Not a whole lot of settings with this. As with most Ironman watches, you basically have a single button up here that you can press to turn on the backlight. It's going to turn on for a duration of 3 seconds, and there's no adjusting that. Like Casio watches give you the ability to adjust it. Timex, you've got 3 seconds and that's it. The one thing I did want to mention is if you wanted to, you could press and hold the top right button for 4 seconds. And what it basically does, you'll see this little moon icon over here. It turns on what's called night mode. And now any button I press will turn on the backlight. So as opposed to just using the top right button, when you have that feature turned on, any button will turn on your backlight. You can turn it off by pressing and holding the top right button for 4 seconds, or it will automatically turn off after 8 hours. It's kind of a feature designed to where when you get into nighttime, you're going to be using your backlight a lot. You can turn that on and you don't have to worry about pressing this one individual button. And then again, 8 hours later, it'll turn off. I'm gonna go ahead, just show you how to turn it off again. After 4 seconds, turn it off. Let's go ahead and turn off my overhead light. We'll take a look at the backlight. Hopefully you can see that okay. As with most Timex watches, the backlight is great. You can see all of the values very easy. Again, 3 second duration. This one's a little bit different than other Timex watches I've had. Usually the whole screen lights up, whereas in this case the screen stays dark. It's just the font that lights up. Anyway, not a whole lot else to show you. That's a quick look at the backlight on the T5K195 watch. I hope the video helped.